Hey everybody, welcome. I am super excited to have this opportunity to record a video for you. So I wanted to first share a little bit about what we're going to cover today. So we're talking about hustling or flowing. So in the light of everything that's going on, I wanted to focus in on how this applies to your business and your brand and who you're putting out there as your representation of you, either as a business or as a personal brand. So we're looking at how creating and growing a community in the field of wellness and fitness is no longer a differentiator. It's part of the requirements to stay relevant in these times. It is now the time to hustle or flow in your life. Can you use your community to build your business? And is using a business to grow a community necessary? Integral to this is connecting with others. And connecting with others, you can expand your reach, develop yourself authentically, and become a leader in your area, helping yourself and others find meaning and movement. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So in revamping our life, our business, and our brand, we want to redesign components of how we're presenting ourselves. So what are our business goals? What are our life goals? How do those two things come together, or how do they stay apart? What is your brand personality or your personality that you're putting out there? Because as business owners and professionals, what we're putting out there as our personal life is also being judged as part of our brand. How are we marketing to reach our users, and how is that different now, and how will it be different going forward? What kind of programming do you need out there to help grow your community and grow your brand? And how can your community then rally around what you have going on and support you? So my name is Allison Zhang. I've jokingly used the hashtag mompreneur. I don't know how I feel about that, and if I'm going to keep that going forward. That for today's presentation, we have it here. I am a studio owner. I am a health and business coach. I actually developed my own brand of Pilates studios, which had then franchised. And I am actually in the process, in the middle of this pandemic, um, acquiring a studio to turn into a franchise location. I am the gluten-free foodie. I'm the runner. I love data, which I think is part of how I ended up growing my business and franchise. I once spent a lot of time working in statistics. Obviously, if you are a Pilates studio owner, you are a lover of leggings. I have a personal deep love for coffee. If you really want to know, I will share my favorite coffee maker. My friends have told me that I make a better cup of coffee than most of the local coffee shops, and sparkle. So, um, you know, anyone who knows me, I am not necessarily always a lover of hustle. It is not necessarily my favorite adjective to describe my life or my career, but I do feel like I am somebody who realizes that there are periods in your life where it is time to hustle and sprint. And reflecting on what's going on now, I have been through the curves of emotion in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I definitely think for those of us that are business owners, this is probably, for most of us, a good time to hustle. For some of us, it might just be a time to flow because that's where we are in our lives, and that's the outcome that you want from this. So, why is now the time to reinvent your brand? We need to stand out in the market. You know, everything is changing. You might want to grow, um, like our very awesome bonsai tree, that we don't quite know what that road looks like. So we need to keep hustling and staying in front of the next twist and the curve that comes to you. And definitely, you want to be like the new growth that is coming to all the trees. You do not want to find yourself down on the ground, left behind in the times of the next curve in the bend. So I think most business owners out there have seen the scary statistic that's been tossed around loosely since even like before the businesses were shut down. I felt like I was hearing that 60% of small businesses aren't going to survive the COVID-19 pandemic. And that was said, before I think my state even shut down. And I live in Pennsylvania and we were shut down early. Um, I think that we're all here growing and thriving, and I don't think that we're going to be part of that 60%. I definitely think there will be businesses that do change and do shut down. So, just like this awesome little girl in this box, we want to reach for our dreams and our goals. So, we need to think about what are our dreams and our goals. We need to find perspective. We need to go from here to what's the next goal. We have been given one of the biggest opportunities, which is a fresh start. We can fix all the mistakes we've made in the first time for those of us that have been in business before. We can have our business now fit our life plan and a business and a work plan that come together seamlessly and have one function and support you in where you are and what you need from your work or your business and your family life. They need to all fit together almost as like legs of a stool. And I know for myself and for many other people out there that were business owners, there were a lot of things that didn't make those all fit together to find balance before this. So, as somebody who, was becoming an adult in the late 90s, early 2000s, I've quoted Eminem numerous times. Look, if you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you've ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or would you let it slip away? This is your one shot to fix everything you did wrong. You're basically opening a brand new business. So you have, you know, clients and people and a community. Probably, maybe you haven't tapped into it the way you should, but all of these things are there. And this is your one shot to make it all fit together for you. I think almost every business is going to look different when it reopens. And so the goal is to make sure that your business now fits your brand that you want it to, and you are also taking care of your community so that as all the pieces come together, everything supports one another and it feels seamless and it doesn't feel like hard work. So, where do you start in figuring this all out? I have been waving and flowing through this process over what is basically been 9 weeks now, in the United States. In my part of the world, I am tied in between New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and DC in a smallish town in Pennsylvania. And we have people that go every which way every day. So we've been, we've been COVIDing. It's been a thing. So um, you need to sit down and not think about your day to day, that you need to think about what is your dream day. Live your best life, your actual best life, not like the best life you can dream of or what your best life was before this. You know, how do you want to start your days? How do you want to end your days? How do you want to feel in the middle of the day? Will you be creating things each day? When is your most productive time? Which, you could do a time track right now of what you're doing. I don't think it's going to be an indicative indicator of when you actually are or are not the most productive. What impact will my time with my family and friends make on this big plan? How much time are you going to spend working? How much time are you going to spend with your family? Who will be part of your everyday? Who are you bringing in to help you? And, who are you sending away to go places? You know, it's whatever passions you have for each day, and how will you devoting time to them, and how will you be devoting your time to all of the other things that are important to you. So, you know, live big, make a plan of what you think you want, when you want to get at, who you want to interact with, Where do you want to go? Where don't you want to go? So maybe there's things that you just want to flat out start removing from your dream day, and then maybe the plan will come together. I think this is something that you start putting things down on paper, and then from there, you take time to, look at it, sleep on it, maybe go for a jog, come back and read it, go out for a meditative walk in the woods, give it some time. This is definitely like a big piece of how you're going to hustle and flow, because everything is going to be focused around hustling to get to that dream day. So once you have that, take time to put in your dream numbers. They could be anything or everything. They could be, your average client monthly value, what you want your take home to pay to be, what you want to be your hourly rate. If you're going the hourly rate, this is a good benchmark, because then you can figure out what tasks are outsourceable. So any task that you can pay someone to do at a lesser rate than your hourly rate, those tasks should not be on your plate. They should be on someone else's plate. Do you want to factor in time to go volunteer, or a minimum number of hours a week that you want to do that? Do you want to go on a big quest and campaign to raise money for charity? All of those things, any and all of them, and some combination of them could be put together. I think this is a chance, because your businesses are going to look different on the other side. This is a chance to completely change your rates, remove services that you're offering and you're no longer offering. I definitely think that that is going to be happening in our Pilates studio that I own, that there's definitely going to be services that are going to be changed. Reflecting back on my personal business, I started my business doing one-on-one training. And I was just me in a space doing one-on-one training. And over the last 10 years of business owning, it has exploded into something. And we're providing services that I don't like to provide. And the one thing that I figured out in this exercise for myself, looking back on something that I don't want to do, is I won't be providing group services anymore. It is not something that sparks joy in my life, to borrow a line from Marie Kondo. Those hours, I don't walk away from saying that they were happy. I did them because I had to do them, because it was something that my business needed me to do. So if that's not a service that people are going to be providing for me to my clients, it might be a service that's gone. And that might really come into our average client monthly value, because group classes versus private classes are a very different thing. So I will be doing some deep diving into some Excel spreadsheets. And I'll share some things with you in some templates of things that I've created in a landing page. So I think, as I was sort of alluding to my brand just a moment ago, that is very important. So you need to have an established vision of your brand that you are working towards. And it might not be what your brand was before, or it might be. And in that point, then you can just flow with what you've got, and there's no need to hustle and try to make changes. So what is the mission for your business? What do you do? Be super specific for what you do. And maybe you're making a mission for what you do and a mission for what your business does, that they need to tie together. Your vision, why you do what you do. So if you weren't happy doing what you do before, you need to figure out how your vision of why you do what you do then loops back to your mission of what you actually do. So I have a little bit of that problem, because I know why I do what I'm doing, that I'm not necessarily 100% happy with what we are doing. So, and then you need to look at your core values. How do you show up for your clients? Looking at Pilates studios, there is a very diverse amount of ways that teachers show up for their clients. Some of them you might agree with, some of them you might not. I know that one of the things that I am definitely going to be showing up for is I am going to be coming in much better planned because I will be seeing fewer clients that are the clients that I want to see. And I will be focused on replicating that person that I want to see because then it will be a joy to show up for them and it will be a joy to plan for them. So, building your stool. I alluded to a stool a little bit earlier in this. So, I've got this very beautiful stool over here in this very serene setting. I kind of want to go sit on that stool. But how do we fit it all together? So, definitely, in the service industry, this experience that we've just had um, taught us a lot of things. And I said to some people, you know, is just having a brick and mortar service location a valid career plan at this point? Considering I'm somebody with a master's degree who used to work in a lab, um, collecting data and doing all kinds of things, is just having one service location where we're dependent on clients coming to me and us physically being able to be open a valid business plan at this point? And I think the answer is you need to create in your life a balanced stool that will fulfill you and really keep you going no matter what is thrown at you. So for me, I realized that I need to see clients because I love seeing clients and it is my passion. But I also need to lean into some other things. I did do some health coaching and I moved away from that because I really wanted to work on building the business, building the brand, and building a franchise model, which is great. And essentially, having a franchise model, you've got locations, diverse locations across an area. I mean, most of mine are in the state of Pennsylvania. Um, but if there was a flood or a tornado, they're not right next to one another. So I kind of had naturally disaster proofed my business. I definitely had not pandemic proofed my business. I mean, who would have thought that basically every studio in the United States was going to be shut down at one time to seeing clients face to face? It I would have never bought into that theory. um, I I do now. So looking back on that, like, yes, my studio life is part of my business, but I am going to be returning to doing some health coaching and some business coaching. I had kind of always said that those were services that I provided, but I wasn't putting any effort into them at this point, because I was focused on other things. So I think taking the time to step back and divide my energy among all of my things, I think that's important. And then obviously, um, family, relaxation, travel, that's life. That's kind of the other portion of my business. We also have a few other things going on in amongst this. So I took this one step further and I broke it down into four things. So studios. We also own the buildings where we rent, and we have other tenants in them. So I have rental properties with diverse businesses in them. So the businesses that are still open in our rental properties have actually been carrying the brunt of the weight, and we were able to help the services that are in our business, in our location. So that was awesome that I was able to help some of our renters, which will then make them obviously more loyal to us. I have done some business and teacher coaching. We do teacher training in the studio. And then I do some health coaching. I actually am a pretty loyal fan of the Faster Way program just because it met all of my gluten-free needs and seems like a reasonable place to be. Um, I am sure that there are programs out there for some of you, and some other people love other very specific programs, but that if I go back to my plan and I take the time to realize that I need to balance my energy between these four things, our rental properties really do kind of take care of themselves. So I think the point is that I need to look at balancing my energy between the other three so that my business and life are not completely dependent on one thing. I think that's where I'm going to be finding my hustle, and I'm going to be making sure that the way that I'm doing that fits with my personal needs to not have hours spent at work feeling like they're sucking the life out of me, but they are helping me move forward. So everybody needs to sort of vision. I think four is a good number, kind of three at a minimum, four buckets of where you can put your energy and hustle into to keep yourself balanced for any sort of future chaos that could come about in our world. And sometimes you don't even necessarily see where these things lie. And sometimes you need to do a deep dive into your business and your personality to figure out uh, what's missing, what is the vision. So one of the things that I suggest, if you have gotten this far and you haven't figured out exactly where to go, um, go back and find some of those resources out there and see and do a brand archetyping. I found that to be very interesting for my own studio. I will share some links to that. There are all kinds of things out there. Some Myers-Briggs personality types and Enneagrams. I have done all of those, and I've consulted them to try to figure out uh, more about my brand and my vision and my business. I will put some notes up about those. So, what is your community? So, once you've figured out what are the pieces of your stool, some of those things you probably already have in existence, and there's probably already clients in that. And then you obviously have a personal community that you could also draw to, which could be potential clients for other things that you're creating. It also could be that there are just other people that are connected to people that you know that should also be brought into your circle. So, how do you find your community? So, I came up with six buckets of people that I can contact to try to fill up my community. And we did this pretty hardcore after everything shut down, trying to figure out how we were going to draw in enough people to our virtual studio to keep the brick and mortar studios stable and all of our teachers stable. So we reached out to clients, past and present. Um, Friends of friends of all of my teachers, anyone that existed, family, neighbors, school connections, either from your own school, your own education, your college, your children's schools, your spouse's schools, any sort of circles and groups that you could invite um, that are ready to go. Places you volunteer, a church you belong to, anything out there that ties you to a different segment of the public. So once you start to accumulate people, how can you connect with them? I was super anti Facebook groups. I almost was in the camp that I would say that I found them annoying. Um, but when everything happened, everyone got on Facebook. People that had taken time and gotten off Facebook, people that were kind of Facebook light, they are all scrolling. The scroll is so much. Um, so we put out a Facebook group, and I was able to bring almost all of our unlimited members together into one group on there. And then that is where our community started for this studio. And then other people wanted to get in there. So they were joining and they were sharing, which I'll talk more about that later. Email. So we had an email issue when this happened, and this is an awful story. So when we shut down, and it was kind of unexpected, I thought I had a few more days than I did, and our governor was fast to action, and I sent out an email, and so did the rest of the universe. Like literally, everyone sent out the emails. And there were so many emails being sent through the way that we were sending them through our scheduling software, it basically crashed the software and the email didn't send. So in the morning, I tried to send another email and it didn't send. So by that time, no one knew what was going on, and I realized that this was a problem. So I quickly paid for an email subscription service that has quickly paid for itself. So make sure that you have your systems working. We thought we had ours working. That might have been like a small glimpse in time, but I'm really glad that we made that change. It seems to be actually getting our emails out. We have gone to weekly emails, which the clients have appreciated, with updates of anything that's going on, and that anything that is going on, and recipes. And like I've made a fun YouTube video of like a free exercise or two just to keep sharing people, and we have been continuously inviting them to virtual classes every time if they haven't done it, like maybe now. And we have had a slow trickle over 9 weeks of people finally deciding that now's the time that they need to get on board, because we are stuck in this new normal. Text people, it was a fast way to get a hold of people uh, in the beginning, and it was easy, and we definitely texted with some of the people that we normally texted with. um, I have resorted to sending snail mail now, just checking in with people with some fun cards, and clients have really appreciated that. We are probably be going, well, I know we are. There will be, so anyone who has not participated, we will be attempting to reach out to FaceTime with clients. That is next week's project. We will be FaceTiming all the members that no one has connected with in any manner, just to connect with them and see how they're doing, and maybe sort of get them moving a little bit to see if we can invite them back now that basically, we're headed into the process of being going through week 10. So now, if you once you've built this community and you've invited these people in and you've connected with them and you've found a connection, um, how can they bring you clients? How can they direct your future services? How can they help you with your reopening, future plans, and unmet needs in the community? That has always been something that I've had people reach out to me with, that I didn't realize how it was happening. But that is so critical, that making yourself available to your community will then help you grow your business. So obviously we talked about our Facebook groups and our weekly emails already. The one piece of this connection that I have not covered is Instagram stories. So we have been trying to use our Instagram stories to be fun and engaging and just kind of like what's going on in the community. So many of our teachers have decided that this is the time to get on TikTok, and watching a bunch of 30 to 40-year-old women attempt to TikTok, I can tell you, is a riot. My daughter and I have been making TikTok videos because she still thinks I'm cool. So we have been doing that, and those have been fascinating to clients, and they've been loving them because they're short. We've also been putting short little exercises on there, not too much content, but just showing them what's going on in life's teachers, and then sharing recipes, all those things, just making yourself human and reminding the world that you're here. So why does building a community work? Because they feel a deep connection to you in a time that we're all going after connection. Um, what's changed? Because everyone is looking for services that they can still support. We're focusing on small businesses because we've realized that they are struggling in this time. And if we don't help them, your favorite restaurant might not be there when you want it in 6 months from now. Um, so it's definitely about connecting and collecting people so that you have people to talk to and ask and offer services to. Surveying your people. So I made a survey about our reopening, which I have to say was fascinating. I only had one person yell at me. we're not reopening yet, but I now have over 100 people's opinions on how our reopening should happen. I did require them to put their name on it. Obviously, they could have given me a fake name, but it's fascinating. It also gave me information to follow up with people because I asked very specific questions about services, which will enable me to keep from making broad announcements about when we're opening, but it'll allow me to bring back some customers that are ready, because they were ready now. So in a few weeks from now, when we are open, um, I'll know who to contact first because it's definitely going to be an experiment and there's going to be a learning curve and it's going to be a fluid process. But I also know what other services they're looking for, who wants to come in for what services, and what safety protocols they have. So if you were thinking about launching a new service or opening a new location, this would be a great way to collect information. And you could also collect information about other things that you need. People were very willing to give me a good amount of data to work with about what they need and how I can help them. So one thing is that that's definitely right. Like the people in the community are here to support you. And as long as you are growing and supporting them and listening to what they're saying, and obviously you can't listen to everyone, you're never going to make everyone happy. But if you're reopening in phases, we can be strategic about how we share things and only share information with people that are interested in that information once you have collected survey information. So when we go to reopening, I am not going to be sending a mass email to all the people. I'm going to be contacting the people that are interested. So how can you get your community talking about you? This sort of all ties back to what's in it for me and how can they get something out of it too. So, what's in it for them early on in this process was that your business and you would be here when they're ready to come back. As time ticked on, I think what's in it for them is they realized that this was really taking care of their mental health if you were offering virtual classes. That's kind of my personal option. Um, but we need to look at our customer needs, reflect on what our brand philosophy is, how we are sharing that and developing collateral, and then whatever changes that we realized we need to make, we need to figure out how we're going to implement that with new branding and new information to them. So during this time, this is how we figured out to have our community help us. So we didn't quite know what was going on early on in the process. And so it felt like the right time that when we first shut down, it was the right time to give back to the community. So we weren't asking for things other than we were asking for them to share our brand, which is huge because you're creating brand recognition, especially if you've made branding changes. So we gave away 4 scholarships for 4 months to the studio's virtual classes. So I collected lots of information. We made a landing page about it and we asked people to share, and just share that we were doing this, and it got our business out there and it got us some news coverage for giving back to those that couldn't afford to do Pilates right now. So we did that in March. We did that pretty quickly. So that I sort of launched that the second week we were shut down. I thought we'd maybe be shut down for a month and then they might get 3 months of free in studio classes. 2 months later, they're still getting virtual classes. And they probably will be for the duration of their membership. So then after we had given back to the community, we asked if some of our members would give back to us. So we asked people if they were willing to buy a friend or a family member a discounted membership to the studio for them to come in. And we offered the people that were coming on board a free 30-minute consultation so that they could talk to us about any sort of injuries, they could get any modifications they needed, so that people could share this with really anyone that felt that they might need it, because they were going to get some one-on-one time with me to make sure that they could be safe in their classes. That being said, um, we also, what's in it for me, we offered those clients um, a one-on-one private session when we open back up. So they, as a bonus for giving someone a month membership, I'm giving them 1 hour of my time when we will open back up, because to be honest, a lot of the people that did this for us are not people that come in for private training. So we're going to give them a taste of private training that then might sell them to private training. So all of it is a give back. So we were giving to our community, they were giving to us, we're giving back a little bit more to them, and then maybe they're going to give even more back to us. So I wanted to keep giving back to our community. So the next thing that we're rolling out is an ambassador program, where we're going to work on creating some influencers out in the community that are really sharing our message and our philosophy of Pilates with the world, so that people know that we're out there. So we're looking at our most satisfied customers and our most loyal followers, and we're going to be giving them some things, some swag. Maybe we're giving them a private lesson when we come back. That's probably going to be one part of it. It's not going to be like a weekly private lesson. Maybe it's once a month, so that they can come in and work on something that they can also always give that away. Asking them to go to events with us and talk about the studio and connect online for different incentives to them. We have a lot of logoed clothing that we could be giving away to these people. Maybe a studio reopening kit with gloves and socks, because we're going to need those, and a studio branded mask for their first month of talking about the fact that they're safely back in the studio and how they feel that we're safely doing this. So I think that is another way to use your community to have them hustle for you instead of you needing to do the hustling. I think looking at the world of what clothing companies do with fitness instructors is a good model to look at an ambassador program and then adapt it to fit your brand, your space, your needs, and your community. So with all of these people and everything that you've loaded into the story, they can unfold their own story across multiple customer touch points for you, because the more people you have sharing and talking about you, the more people that'll be out there, especially if there are facilities or brands moving out of the market in whatever market you are in. It will definitely give you credibility. And when people come looking for you, if you've got a good way to get them in and get them learning about you, even in this distancing time, it will definitely bring them to you. So I am going to put up a landing page on AllisonZhang.com with so the resources is some of the branding questions that I talked about and some templates that we put together for budgeting for the different studios. And I hope I was able to provide some value to you. And there will be some information over in the trade show about working with me. I really appreciate everyone's time and energy today, and I hope that you took something away from this about some different ways that you can be hustling right now versus flowing in your business. I definitely will be hustling to rebuild my business to fit my vision, which I had let my brand get away from my original vision of what I thought it should be. And I will be working closely with all of my teachers to help them develop their own personal brand. And in that process, when they're developing their own personal brand, they will be connecting to mine. and helping us spread the word about the studio and the community that we have created here. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you have a fabulous day whenever you are watching this.